Hey all you mob, welcome back to our Deadly Mums and Bubs podcast. Today you have myself, Bo Cruz. I am the host and Deadly Choices Ambassador. I've also got with me Yvette Bates, who's endorsed midwife working across the Morton Aches clinics. Welcome, Yvette. Jaleesa Siebert, Aboriginal health practitioner, and Morton Aches Morayfield, specialising in smoking cessation for pregnant mums. Gee, that's a mouthful. And Joanne Firminger, nurse home visitor from the ANFPP North. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So today we're just going to be having a nice yarn. I've got a few things to yarn about. SEQ restrictions in place, around prenatal, postnatal stuff, tobacco cessation for pregnant mums, spotlight on the World Breastfeeding Week, tips for breastfeeding mums and self-care activities. That's going to be a really good discussion, I reckon. And PIPE, which is Partners in Parenting Education. But firstly, we'll do our acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and where you mob are watching us today, and pay respects to my elders, past, present and emerging. We're going to cut to some ads and we'll be back shortly.
Managing your family's health concerns just got a whole lot easier. Community members can now dial in to participate in community-controlled health services from home, via video teleconference, or over the phone to access all health-related services. If you or any of your mob are on a health management plan, living with chronic illness, needing to keep up to date for regular appointments, simply wanting medical advice, or to complete a 715 health check, the telehealth service is a deadly way to maintain optimum health. Contact your community-controlled health service and book an appointment today.
Hey you mob. Being fresh out of the womb means Bub's immune system is not as strong as ours. Social distancing needs to be practiced now more than ever. We know how newborns can make the mob very clucky and it can be overwhelming at times. Remember, this is a special time to allow you as a parent a quiet moment to bond and connect with Bub. If you have any questions or concerns, please call the Hub on 07 3274 5700 or talk to your family support worker. So, ladies, we're going to have a quick yarn. Firstly, the SEQ restrictions that have come in around clinics and hospitals. So, firstly, we're doing things a little differently, but all our clinics are still open to everybody out there. So, make sure if you're not feeling well, get down to our clinics. When visiting the clinic and hospitals, both clients and clinicians must wear a mask and adhere to physical distancing guidelines as usual. So, everybody's still safe. Number 3, women can still have up to 2 support people with them if it's pregnancy-related appointment, if social distancing allows them to. Number 4, due to restrictions currently, no children are permitted in the prenatal and antenatal wards, which is going to be hard, especially if you are a single mum and you don't have that support. But Yvette, you were saying there is a pretty good program that allows that.
Yeah, there's obviously understanding for those mums who don't have anyone else to look after their bubs, so they can bring them. We're just trying to, if you have someone who can look after baby, to avoid having them come into the hospital. Yeah,
it's going to be a hard one, but it's all about the safety of mum and bub. And a reminder about the importance of social distancing, hand hygiene, and the new directive on masks. So all staff and clients at any of our clinics or hospitals must wear a mask. If you don't have one will be given to you upon arrival. So yeah, make sure if you do have one that you normally do wear, make sure you're wearing it to any of your appointments. So that's that out of the way. So all the new directives as of a couple of weeks, I think it's been now a week or so. So yeah, very important that we keep our social distancing 1.5 metres, also washing our hands regularly. So we'll head over to you, Jaleesa. Sister, you are the Aboriginal health practitioner at Morton Aches Morayfield, specialising in smoking cessation for pregnant mums. So we know that it does happen. It's very important that we do have people like yourself educating especially our mums and our dads around smoking, but especially our mums whilst, smoking whilst pregnant. So, I mean, let's have a bit of a yarn, and ladies join in if you want to. What are some of the, I suppose, harms and issues that are associated, whilst mum is pregnant and smoking?
Yeah. So definitely the exposure to the nicotine and the carbon monoxide.
Yeah.
So some of the side effects that I wanted to talk about was like low birth weight and definitely SIDS and just like preterm births.
Yep.
So like with the low birth weight, I guess that'd all be related to I guess I'll come back a step. So with the carbon monoxide, that kind of exposure, that just inhibits like the absorption of oxygen for bubs.
Yeah.
And so the carbon monoxide like actually crosses the placenta into bubs' blood.
Yeah.
And it takes a little while for bubs to obviously like, kind of break it down and kind of things like that. And so with the low birth weight, I guess that would all be related to, bubs not getting the full oxygen, and it's just kind of slowing down the development and things like that.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, and we've got a couple of others. There would be, being small for their gestational age. So when they are born, they are, they could be 38 weeks, but they're looking like they're 28 weeks. You know what I mean? Also preterm birth, obviously, having bub a lot earlier. Perinatal death, and that just kills me to even say that right here.
Yeah.
But it's very common, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also SIDS. So do you want to have a bit of a yarn about why, I suppose, some of these, especially with SIDS, why it's, a common occurrence?
Yeah. So SIDS is like sudden infant death syndrome. And it's usually like when I think they're less than 12 months.
Yep.
So that kind of, and they just call it like, is it the cot? Like in
Cot death.
Yeah, it used to be
Cot
known
death.
as cot death.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
but the term's changed to
SIDS.
Yeah.
Bit of a nicer term.
Yeah.
And it's just causes, back to low birth weight. So it's not really like, it's kind of I can't talk right now. It's unknown what it's associated with, but they reckon that the low birth weight is like a defect kind of thing.
And we know with SIDS that if our babies are raised in houses where smoking occurs, they are 50% more likely to die in the first year of life.
Massive.
It is massive, and it is massive for something that's really preventable. There are some things that you cannot control. For example, if you're a woman who develops diabetes in pregnancy or high blood pressure, you may have done everything you can to avoid that. When it comes to smoking in the house, we can all control that. We can all go, no way, it's an outside activity, and if you're smoking, you're not around my baby.
100%. And I mean, with mums that are smoking, I mean, it's a hard habit to kick.
It is.
And you just sort of, I don't know, for myself, I just think it's a, we were talking about it before, Jaleesa, it's sort of a good time to quit, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we're really lucky in the clinics. We have wonderful people like Jaleesa who can support around reducing smoking in pregnancy. And it's really hard to quit smoking, but there is that support. There's education, there's a support with nicotine replacement therapy, which is safe and recommended in pregnancy. So it's easy to book into the clinic and see the health worker and have those conversations.
100%. Yeah, and I mean, like, it's an addiction.
Absolutely.
So nicotine is an addiction. So
it's not a choice.
Is it a thing that our babies are more than likely to become addicted to nicotine as well?
Yes.
Whilst inside,
and we do see them go through a bit of withdrawal.
Wow. That kills my heart. You know what I mean? But I get it that there's some women that it's just it's a habit and it's really, really hard to kick. But I think to all our mums out there, if you do think you are a smoker and you are thinking of giving up and you are pregnant, it's the best time. We want our babies, especially with our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, we're trying to kick the habit of smokes, and tobacco. So we want to give our babies the best opportunity in life to come into this world, because it's hard enough as it is, as a human, especially right now with the pandemic. We want to give them every opportunity in the world to come into it, healthy, and just give them every beautiful option there is to have to live a healthy life. So
and the great news is that women are very motivated during pregnancy because it's no longer just about them. It's about them and this little person that they are growing. And so often for them, this is the time when they don't want just themselves to quit, but also their partner. And so that support is there for both, for both the woman and her partner. And family to get in, and any reduction is a bonus for that baby.
And we've spoken about, I suppose, smoking. You know, if mum isn't a smoker, dad's not a smoker, no one in the household is a smoker, but when you do have visitors that are smokers, like, get the hell outside. You know what I mean? Have some respect and understand that, you know, passive smoking is huge. You know, secondhand smoke is just as bad. So, you know, and I think for some of our mums or family, especially when it is a family member, they feel a bit shame maybe to, you know, yarn to them and say, oh, can you go outside? But we're here now telling you, you know, we're helping you here. You mob that are smokers and that are going around a pregnant mum or get outside, have a smoke outside. It's just being respectful. It's bringing your, you know, your little relation, whether it be your grandchild, your niece and nephew, into a life that's smoke free, because obviously parents have made that choice not to smoke. So get the hell outside. Like, you know, get away from, you know, let's do the right thing by our mob, by our family, and, you know, if you're gonna smoke, take it outside. You know, have a destination within the house, or even, you know, down the road or wherever to have your smoke, you have your day. You know what I mean? So thank you, sis, for coming in.
Right.
And we'll yarn a bit more. You know, we're all just having. So the next thing I want to yarn to you about is breastfeeding. Vet, obviously being our in-house midwife that always comes in here, an endorsed midwife, working at Morton Akes. I mean, it's breastfeeding is a tough one. For me personally, it wasn't.
I know. I keep thinking of what you were talking about.
It wasn't this beautiful thing that everybody talked about. It was. It was a tough one.
Everybody, and I think that's this false thing we get told that it's, you know, it's completely natural and it's going to be super easy, and that's not the case. It is hard work. When you have your brand new baby, you haven't spent months practicing and studying and getting comfortable with breastfeeding. It's new on the day. And it's not just new for you, it's also new for your brand new baby, because they also haven't been, you know, taking tuition in your uterus on how to breastfeed. So 100%. It can be really challenging, and we all, I think all women, we start talking about breastfeeding as a new mum and about things like, you know, tender nipples or bleeding nipples, and we all just kind of cringe a little bit. But once you get it, it can be such a fantastic journey. And it's so convenient because it's there. But it is something that you need support and education around. So when you're in the hospital, that's one of the goals of the midwives, is to make sure you're feeling really comfortable with breastfeeding. But also when you come home, there's lots and lots of support too. There's the community midwives. If you're with one of the Narromah programs, there's us. There's ANFPP where they can do support. Your GP, we have lots of really passionate GPs who can support with breastfeeding or link you in. There's the Australian Breastfeeding Association, which have
I got a lot of my info
line.
For that.
That and awesome. Are online. So there is lots of support. We know the advantages to you as a mum, not just with your bonding with your baby, but when you're breastfeeding, it helps your uterus to contract, and so to get your body to start to get a little bit back to what
normal.
It was pre-pregnancy, which is really important. We know that breast milk changes depending on your baby's needs. So if your baby is hot and thirsty, your breast milk will be sweet and watery to quench their thirst. If your baby is a little bit colder, your body will increase its temperature while feeding your baby, and your milk will have those beautiful fat parts in it to help sustain them. So
how amazing is the woman's body? Hey?
Oh, it's phenomenal.
We are freaks. Like, you know, we are just
absolutely
in a good way. You know, we are
100%.
amazing.
We spend all this time building a baby in our uteruses, and then when they're born, we don't say, "Oh, see ya." We say, now I'm going to grow you." So
100%. And we were talking before the show about, I said to you, breast is best, and you said, no, feed is best.
Yeah,
so
feed is
can
best.
You explain that?
So what we want is that our babies are fed. And unfortunately, sometimes women feel a lot of pressure on them to breastfeed, and there are some women who will struggle to make supply for their baby for various reasons. It may be that there's a medical reason, or it may be that we don't know what's happened, and that's why it's so important that you're linked in and getting that follow follow-up postnatally with a midwife or your GP who can be touching base with you regularly and checking that baby is growing. Unfortunately, I know I've visited women at home who say their baby's really sleepy and easy, and then you look at the baby and it's very clear that they're struggling to gain weight, so they're not having energy to weigh. And in those situations, sometimes we do need to add formula, or there are other things that we can add to support your breastfeeding and increase your supply. Mums are really into booby bickies. I don't know if you've heard of them, but booby bickies can be the best. So this is actually an excuse for you as a woman to eat biscuits, which is kind of nice. So they're biscuits that have things like oats and brewer's yeast in them, which help to increase your supply. And also, booby bickies.
That's good.
Also making sure that you're well hydrated and things like that. But we need your baby to be growing. Babies are not designed to stay at their birth weight or under their birth weight for weeks and weeks on end. We want them to grow, so we need to make sure that they're fed well. It doesn't mean that you should be like freaking out that you're not producing enough milk, because if your baby's giving you wet and dirty nappies and having alert awake time and gaining weight, they're doing beautifully. But you need to just check in with us and get that reassurance.
And women, I suppose women shouldn't feel incompetent as a mother if they are struggling to breastfeed. I think,
not at all.
because there's so much information and people saying, breast is best, you should be, and I know.
And it's natural.
And on occasion I've friends of mine have had, other midwives and doctors pushing the breast, and they're like, I can't, and they feel really, really incompetent, and they get sad. And I know with myself, my husband, like I struggled with my first son to breastfeed in terms of like my boobs are cracked, they were bleeding, and it wasn't becoming a nice thing to do. It was actually like a chore.
And
I used to get upset because I felt incompetent that I couldn't feed him because I'm supposed to breastfeed, you know what I mean? And so he's like, no, I'm not dealing with this. He took him off, the boob for a week or two, and put him on formula, and then lucky for me, he jumped back on, you know what I mean? So
and
let me have that healing.
Best,
and he's
it?
fed, exactly.
Because you can't have your breast recovering for a week while your baby's not eating.
No, exactly. So it was it took him to see that, my husband, which, he's very supportive, but he just knew, he's like, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to be upset and crying because you feel like you can't do it, you know what I mean? So, it was a really good move. So I think for the mothers out there, like, don't feel like you're incompetent. If it's not working for you, it's not, fed is best, you know what I mean? So as long as they're fed and, they're growing and developing well, and you're checking in with your midwives and whatever to make sure that's how it's supposed to be happening, then I suppose, you do what you need to do at the end of the day, you know what I mean?
We want a happy, well mum and a happy, well baby.
Exactly, 100%. And let's talk about World Breastfeeding Week. When is that? What are we doing for it? It's been, it was last week. So we might just cross that off the, but it was good. Was it good? Did you have a lot of,
it was kind of like, so in the past, there's obviously been a lot more happening, but because of the times we're living in, we haven't seen as much, but certainly people were posting, snippets of them breastfeeding their babies and sometimes their toddlers and things like that, which is really beautiful. And it's just that acknowledgement that this is one of these really special things that mums can do.
And especially the negativity around public breastfeeding as well. It's an opportunity to have that beautiful big platform to show that it's normal. Like,
it is.
Stop it. I mean, if you don't feel comfortable as a mum or as, breastfeeding in public, all good. There's change, there's toilets, there's, new baby rooms that you can go into and whatever.
And there is lots of private space out there. But it's also about the public respecting.
100%.
If you see a woman who's breastfeeding, it doesn't mean you start gawking. It's like you be respectful and you look away. And women don't generally go out there and kind of shake it all about.
Like
we're
hello.
Just trying to feed our babies. But in Australia we have very, very clear laws which say babies basically have the right to breastfeed wherever they damn well please. So,
and so they should. I mean, like, get over it.
Exactly.
Like, some of these mob that go around like, having a go at a woman while she's sitting there breastfeeding, like,
And I'd like to say that,
Yeah.
we don't. I don't feel like we see that as much as we used to,
yeah.
and often it's people who just have no clear understanding.
No, and it's for me. I think it's a bit sick, actually.
Yeah.
Like, well, she's trying to feed a baby.
Yeah.
It's not as if she's popping her boob out there to
Just
show
to
the
show
world.
Yeah, exactly.
You idiots. Anyway, but yeah, that's just me. That's how passionate I get, because I know I have friends that have gone through it, and I know my cousin was a bit scared sometimes about breastfeeding in public, especially with me. Then I'm like, go for it, like
Exactly.
I'll
I'll guard you.
if they do. So yeah, I've got your back, sis.
Yeah, and that's what we do, isn't it?
Yeah,
When we have a friend or a family
Yeah.
member who's breastfeeding
Yeah.
in public, we're like, I'm on guard.
Yeah,
I'm the
and
bouncer.
you're actually sort of
Anyone
looking
comes
for
over
it.
here, they'll be trouble.
Yeah, you're watching to see who's
Yeah.
snarling at you. Or
Yeah.
Anyway, but all good. But yeah, thank you for that. That's lovely, and I hope women feel a lot more comfortable about breastfeeding. And like you said, fed is best.
Yes.
And don't get, I suppose, too worked up and feeling too incompetent like I did. Around breastfeeding.
I think the
because
key
it's-
is if you need, if you're struggling and you're wanting help, ask. There's lots of us around who can provide really practical support, and sometimes it's as simple as a few adjustments in the way you hold your baby can make a massive difference.
Yeah, the old
So-
football grip. I think that
Yes.
was probably my favourite. The football hold, because I'm a football player and I held a football for so long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was bang.
As long as
easy
you
one
don't
for
go
me.
to throw.
Yeah. Here, Dad. But your turn. No. But yeah, thank you for that. That was lovely, and I hope some of our mums and dads out there have a bit more clarification, and feel a bit more comfortable about breastfeeding. And it's not for everybody, but there are options, and to
Absolutely.
seek that help and support if you need it. So we'll move on to you, Joanne. So Joanne is from the ANFPP. You're a nurse home visitor. Can you give me a bit of a breakdown of what the ANFPP is about and what you guys offer and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So the ANFPP is essentially the Australian Nurse Family Partnership Program. It's a national program which has been functioning in Australia for 11 years now, and it's federally funded as well, not closing the gap funding, but it dovetails into that. It's where we work with mums who are mostly first-time mums, and we meet families, mums in pregnancy, and work with them up until their baby turns 2 years of age. It is voluntary program, so if at any stage that families choose to opt off the program, they can leave whenever they desire to do so, and there are lots of different reasons for that. So families move.
So
away
what's
out of
the
area.
difference between yourself and a midwife? It sounds a lot of the support type, same support as what a midwife within the BIOC program would do. What do you guys? Are you similar? What would you guys do sort of differently, or just additional support? Are you? Yeah.
So in a way, it is a program as such. It's not a service. In saying that, I guess the difference is that even though the nurse home visitors, we have a variety of backgrounds, so midwifery, and general nursing, child health nursing, paediatric nursing. This program, the ANFPP, is what they call non-clinical. So what that means is that when we home visit, because it's also a home visiting program, that we won't weigh baby, or we won't listen to baby's heartbeat in the pregnancy, or do a blood pressure, or any of those things. So it is more around support, education, information, and just sort of complementing and looking after the mums and bubs and families and the communities that we work with.
That's in every state and territory in Australia?
Except Western Australia.
Okay,
yeah.
awesome.
So, and Tasmania, I think they have.
And you guys, and we're here to talk about your PIPE program. Do you want to tell
Sure.
us a little bit more about what PIPE is, what PIP
Yeah.
stands for, and the aim of it?
Yeah, sure. So within the program, the ANFPP, we have a variety of materials and resources and tools, and we work with families to be able to identify what their needs are. So again, we have a few principles in the program, and one of them is that the families are the experts in their own lives.
Okay.
So that means that we go into the home and we just build up a relationship, because it is a relational program as well. And then we don't assume the role of the expert. We sort of sit back and talk to families about, well, how they are the experts. And then so we're just there to support them in whatever way they feel they need to have that support. Yeah, so the PIPE is one of those resources and one of those materials that we use in the program. Only one, there are a few, as I mentioned before. So PIPE is essentially Partners in Parenting Education, and I think you mentioned that before as well, Bo, thanks. It's an evidence-based curriculum, really, that it was created back in 1989 at the University of Colorado in the US, and of course it's evolved along the way over those years also.
Of course, yep.
So it's many things, PIPE, but mainly it's a really gentle parenting education model where parents, mums and or dads, are able to have an experience of the concepts of and skills of both the practical as well as the emotional connectedness with their child in a positive way. PIPE is also a partnership with the families and as well as also the nurse home visitors and family partnership workers. So within the program we work alongside.
Okay, so would you deliver the PIPE program, or do you have somebody else that comes in and does, like, sort of train professionals that would be within PIPE?
So we do undertake specific education ourselves, both nurse home visitors and family partnership workers around PIPE. So we do deliver that in the home with the families.
Awesome.
The aim of PIPE is to support the parents' relationship with their child. So again, they're able to experience how their child experiences the world also. There's lots of activities in the PIPE as well. So there's 31 topics and some concepts, but some of those would be recognising baby cues, love, play, and a few others. And the activities with the PIPE, your parents are always included in the topics. So the FPW or the nurse home visitor may just identify that, like the family may benefit from doing a particular PIPE activity.
Okay, so they don't have to do all 31. Okay.
Good point. Really good point. No, that's right. So it's very flexible. So we can actually, in partnership with the family, we can talk about PIPE and let them know that there are some activities and topics, and sort of inform them about what they might be, and then they just choose which ones they like to do.
Because a lot of the time, I think, I know there's been a few things that I go, I really wish I knew this about it, and that might be involved. I don't need to know every single thing, but there might be just one or two things that I'd really like to, I suppose, talk about, or my baby to learn, or me to learn. So it's really flexible by the sounds of it.
Flexible and really fun as well. So a lot of the activities, again, I mentioned before, they were really easy, gentle activities, and the topics are chosen in collaboration with the families also, and we just inform them about whatever topic they feel they might like to learn more about. The nurse home visitors and family partnership workers, through the relationship that we have with the families, we're guided by the families around which PIPE topics they would like to do, and that they may find some benefit from. For an example of that is that some families may feedback, I didn't know, or I'm not sure how to commence reading with my baby. So then there's a topic about reading to baby.
Yeah, because a lot of the time people say, you know, it's really good to read to your baby, and you're like, why? They don't have a clue what the hell that I'm talking about. But because of the benefits around, you know, getting them to start reading, even looking at books, it's pretty huge. You know what I mean? It sets them up, doesn't it?
It does, Bo, and it's a good point, because there are the overall concepts around each topic, but we don't go in there with a whiteboard and start, you know, sort of it being didactic in the home. Again, it's inclusive and it's an experience for the parents as well.
Perfect.
And it works very well.
That's good. And some of the activities, I mean, do you have a favourite one, or what one of you?
Lots of favourites.
Yeah, that's good.
So an example of a topic might be we have a whole sort of area around recognising babies' cues. So and we can do these sort of in the pregnancy or after the birth as well. So again, PIPE is really flexible in terms of the needs of the family. It's individualising the topics for, and all our families, as we all know, are unique and have different needs. So we can really cater for that as well, so which is beautiful. So an example is the baby cues topic. So we talk to parents about how babies do communicate with them, and what this might look like. So one of the activities is charades with parents. So in the visit, we'll all have an opportunity to choose a potential baby cue. So, Bo, for yourself, you might like to choose, or please change my nappy now, or you know, Yvette,
I need a burp.
I need a burp, that's right. Or I'm tired now, Mum and Dad.
I want a bottle. I want to feed.
That's right, I want to feed. So we can all choose something that the baby might be trying to communicate to us. And then what we do is that we have to charade that particular idea, that need. So I want a bottle, so whatever that might be, you know, sort of mouth opening, you might charade that and put in the little hand, your hand in your mouth and everything, and then everybody tries to guess what you're saying. But afterwards we spend some time after the activities with the family and have a conversation about how they felt about that, and also that leads into further discussions around, well, you know, what might that feel like for your baby, and how did you feel about that activity when you were trying to sort of charade and let us know that you were hungry. So how do you think your baby might express that? So then that sort of like also just marries in really well with recognising babies' cues, and then we can talk more about that as well.
Because they're not natural things you think about. Hey, they're definitely not like normal things. You go, oh, I'm gonna think about how my baby is trying to cue me that she's hungry. You just don't think about it. You just think they cry. Oh, they must be hungry. You know what I mean? So it's a really good way of, I suppose, exploring other options or other ways in which baby, like for example, for one that activity in which baby is trying to communicate with you. You know what I mean? I mean, I love it when they can't talk. All three of mine can talk now, and it's like, oh my goodness, can't you get back to being a baby? You know what I mean? So
that was the easy bit, hey?
Oh, the last one is a bossy. She's so bossy. She tells me she needs things, and she's 2. So I don't know how she thinks she needs it, but whatever.
So, well, I mean, the wonderful thing about this particular activity, Baby Cues, is that we can explore with the families more about, you know, how babies do communicate with themselves, and also how they respond and how they communicate with their baby as well, by how they respond to that need that their baby is, that cue that baby is giving them as well. And we also emphasise that with most of the topics as well, that these, with babies' growth and development, that their needs will change as well, and grow and develop as well. So it's about, like, it's not just now as a newborn, but it's also when your baby is 2 or 4 or 5 or 7 or whatever as well. So we talk a lot about how the the benefits for their baby and infant and toddler for their formative years in terms of if the baby knows that someone's going to respond to them and meet their needs, it's going to give the baby confidence that someone is there for them, which then sort of has that domino effect to trust and love and self-esteem as well. And it also, the activity strengthens the family's confidence in themselves as parents as well. So, you know, we, of course, being first-time mums and, you know, mostly, and a lot of first-time dads as well. And, you know, they haven't had many families haven't had a lot to do with babies or newborns in particular. So, you know, sometimes it's really nice for them and really nice for this program to be able to take that journey with them when they're building their confidence as well.
That's perfect. I mean, if you are a first-time mum and dad, I'd definitely, I mean, I have my older sisters that think they know everything, but great program. I'd definitely refer a lot of people to this program just because especially if you are a first-time mum and dad, like there's so many things not to learn, but to just always have in the back of your mind that, that's what Joanne was speaking about, or you know what I mean? So then you sort of start like honing in on those types of things, because I think as first time mum and dads, there's so much information that you need to know, I don't know if that's a word, or you should know, that you don't need to know, that you just skip sometimes because it's like when you're buying you're having a baby for the first time, and the amount of crap that I bought that I didn't really need to buy, and that's where, you know, even if those types of things are maybe a question, you know, pre-baby, you know, before you have your baby, I would have loved to have known that I didn't need to buy $1 million worth of things, because you know what, he's never going to wear it, he didn't use it, you know, I just gave it away, you know what I mean? So even just, you know, just to have that, you know, bit of information that you guys offer through the PIPE program is fantastic.
And I think that it's the with the activities, for example, the charades that I spoke of just now, it's what we find with our families is that because they're participating in that activity, they're doing the activity, that it's an experience for them. So sometimes you can really see that moment where they go, now I get it,
good,
you know, just by having such a gentle activity
can mean so much.
Can mean so much.
100%. What were you about to say?
I was going to say, from my perspective, because I refer quite a few women onto ANFPP, and I always say when I'm talking to women about it, it's kind of like having a personal trainer for parenting. So it kind of, like, I find that the women I care for who are also getting care with ANFPP and part of the program are far more confident, not just in their ability to work with their pregnancy and parent their children, but in their overall confidence of going, actually I know what I want and I know how I'm going to get it, and I know what I need to do and where I can get support. So that's one of the huge things that they get from the program, and the fact that they're with them until their child is 2.
And I think people need to get away from that stereotype thinking that, you know, all mums are maternal, we should have this already developed mum type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, some women do, they're just they're amazing at it, and then some women just need that bit more support and a bit more, and mum and dads just need that little bit more.
And they make great friends on the program too. So because they do really cool things, like they have play groups and the mums get to know each other, they have their support network of mates who are going through the program and have that understanding. So it's a really, really positive program.
That's
and
good to know.
It is, and very strengths-based as well. And even from, I guess, a physiological perspective, and what I mean by that is that having a nurse home visitor and family partnership worker who are dedicated to, you know, your family, it actually, particularly when families and, you know, everyone experiences stress to varying degrees, but it means that we can actually buffer that stress for them, and particularly during pregnancy, so that can actually decrease the stress hormones for mum, and obviously decreases the stress hormones for bubs, to enable an optimal sort of healthy outcome for
Yep.
mum and bub, and not just for the pregnancy and birth,
Yep.
but also for years down the track as well.
And it'd be rewarding for you ladies as well. Like everything that you took, like working with mums and babies and stuff, I mean, I love it. But it has to be rewarding at some stage for you, when you're seeing these beautiful little things come into the world. You see them from the start and then you're going through that journey with them. It must be rewarding when you do see them start to develop. And
Very much so. And we celebrate that with the families
Yeah.
as well. So we have little incentive gifts
Beautiful, yeah.
throughout those milestone times, 6 months, 12 months, and then at graduation, all our families, once they do, the babies do reach 2 years of age,
Yep.
they have a graduation.
Oh,
so we
so
make
cute.
we make a big deal of that,
Yeah.
And definitely back to your
Yeah.
point, Bo, ourselves on the team, we fall in love with the program.
Yeah.
So then we can role model that to our families as well. And so it's a really beautiful program.
Oh, lovely. That's nice to hear. So, ladies, I think we're out of time. I think we could talk about this all day, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everything mums and bubs. But thank you all for joining me today.
you for having us.
Hopefully
Thanks.
we'll have you back sometime soon. Just for the mob out there, please make sure you're staying safe. You are keeping your 1.5 metre distancing, washing your hands, wearing those masks if you want. You don't look stupid. They look, they're pretty common now.
Yeah.
Look after each other. And if you are sick, make sure you are going to the clinic, and any kind of symptoms that you are having, any flu-like symptoms, please get to those clinics and make sure that you're getting a checkup. So ladies, thank you once again for joining me, and we'll see you next time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We're out, Jack.